Well, hello. Welcome to the next episode. Next, whatever you want to go. I don't even know.
Like you're merging
Welcome
words
to.
together.
I was watching Jesse's fingers work, and just kind of got me off guard here for a second. Welcome to podcast 8. Chris and I are kind of shocked. We're 8 podcasts in already. Seems like things are flying by, but we are honored to have Katherine Rivas with us today. And Katherine, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey guys, I'm happy to be here. I'm Katherine Rivas. I work for the mortgage firm. I'm a loan originator. I don't know. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That's a good way to start it right there. So everybody knows the goal of our shows. We always try to get good information out and talk to different people about different things. Last week we had our buddy Mike Bush on. Mike Bush himself is an entrepreneur. He obviously works in the tattoo industry, but kind of self-made man, kind of has worked his way up. Single dad, doing the whole family thing. And now we have Katherine Rivas on, who is in the same situation, but a single mom. She's worked her way up. You were born here.
I was born in New York City, grew up in Dominican Republic, so you can hear the accent. Bilingual, I speak Spanish. And I've been in Florida since I was 10, so I consider myself a Floridian.
Awesome. Now, when you came over, obviously bilingual, was it a weird adjustment coming in?
It definitely was. The language was a little hard. Down there, you do go to school, and they teach you English as much as they can. But coming here as a 10th grader, I was going into 7th grade.
Gotcha.
As a 10th grader, and they said you're a little bit too young, so they pulled me back into 6th grade, and I redid 6th grade, learned English, of course, and here we are.
Were the grades like the same level though? So when you went back to 6th grade, was it the same as 6th grade in the Dominican, or is it more advanced here, or about the same?
It's a little tougher. Down there. They're definitely tougher with the education. So when I came in, it was more of a language barrier than anything else. But other than that, I mean, as soon as I picked up the language and was able to communicate, it became easier.
Right. Now, how long did that take?
I don't know. I think I was more, my little sister, she's 2 years younger than me. She, of course, came with me at the same time. It was easier for her. I think she's a little bit less judgmental of herself, so she didn't care about her accent. She was just kind of out there. I was able to understand it. I was able to speak it, but I was a little bit more reserved. So It took me a little bit, but yeah.
Now, with that, obviously, that kind of, we talk about women's empowerment, we talk about leadership in general, but as a youth, I mean, taking those steps, that's a huge step for a young age to kind of go to a new area, learn a new language, and have that motivation to consistently move, because there's a lot of people who, when they come here from whatever country they come from, that language barrier actually holds them back, to where they kind of either become stagnant or they don't push through their educational system. They split off and just kind of go do their own thing. So, from a mindset at a young age, that's pretty intense,
Well, yeah, when you're that young, you don't really have a choice, I think it's a little, if you're older and you come here and you're just going to work a 9 to 5 and kind of keep to yourself, it's a little bit easier to kind of just stay to yourself and not learn the language or not want to advance. Mm-hmm. I was a kid, so it was kind of like, what do? You learn the language and you push through. My parents are really big on education. Super huge on education. So my sister and I pushed through. We came here. We weren't in Dominican Republic. We were in Catholic school. We came here. We were in Catholic school all through high school. And yeah.
Yeah, my daughter goes to Catholic school. So
what school?
She goes to Ascension.
Okay.
So we're kind of the same way. She one of those kids that likes the smaller classrooms, more involved. They're a little bit more thumb on top of the student. Mm-hmm. So it was nice. We get our weekly emails and they keep us up to date. So I can imagine, coming over here and being, going through that transformation through the language and introducing a new culture. Because like Chris knows, don't even start. Don't even start. He's looking at me. My family's Italian and German.
No, they're not.
My family's Italian and German.
No, they're not.
Okay, what is it? What are they?
They're definitely not Italian. Fernez is not an Italian name. We've been over this a lot.
He is.
It's French. You're French. We've decided that.
I'm French.
You're French.
Okay, I'm French. All right. So either way, I'm some
Maybe
genre of white. Like let's
Swedish.
Go
You're very neutral, so Swedish.
Okay. I'll just I'll blanket. I'll just take me. I'm white. That's what it is. And I'm not just white. I'm like uber white. Like I grew up middle class kid. Mom was a preschool teacher. Dad was a police officer. I grew up in the rural area. I had cows in my backyard. They weren't my cows, but they were cows. I remember, looking out my back window and seeing cows out there. And then I married into a Puerto Rican family.
Culture shock.
Yeah. I think the first time that a guy came and like hugged me and kissed me on the cheek, I was like, ooh, okay. We don't do that. We're more of like the bro tap, a bump, and then we just kind of keep rolling. Like that's how we do it. So there was a whole different culture shock. So I mean, I can't imagine coming here and seeing how one culture does it compared to what you were used to in the Dominican Republic. Chris is a uber white guy too. He's pretty white. I mean, he is.
I don't know how to respond to that.
just go. Yes, that is true.
Yes.
I mean, this is the guy who watches wrestling. and he still believes it's real. He's like, yeah, I don't even know. Hulk Hogan's amazing. Totally. But and he believes in Bigfoot. Do you believe in Bigfoot? Before we go any further.
I don't think so.
Okay, so we're on the same page. Chris is not.
No.
What about wait? You're Hispanic. What about chupacabras?
I don't know. You hear the stories. I've heard the stories, but
see, that's
it's
a
hard
culture
to believe.
difference.
I guess
That's a culture difference right there. Like Chris is like, white people are like, we got to go squatching, look for Bigfoot. Hispanics are like, beware the chupacabra. So it's so interesting when you start getting into the culture aspect of it. Me, starting to learn about what my wife's family was like, and we were talking before about going to birthday parties. We have a birthday party. They're like, take a picture of the kid with the cake and let's move on.
blow the candles.
Yeah, blow out the candles. Now the truth. When you go to a Hispanic party, there's 750 pictures, and they're taken with everybody broken down by cousins, aunts, uncles. Now we got to get
boys,
everybody.
The girls, the parents. Yeah.
Yes. So it's totally different. So for me, I'm like, oh man, I just want the cake before it melts. Chris grew up kind of a latchkey kid. We discussed this last week.
Apparently, uber white.
Uber white, watching wrestling.
Right. White trash is what I like to.
Oh
okay,
man,
it's way better.
Oh man,
That's terrible.
Oh look, Chris is like,
grew up in Southeast Palm Bay. There were no traffic lights. We watched wrestling.
Was your road paved?
That's how it was when I came here when I was 10. So we came here and there was nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, I liked it.
And we were used to going to New York City and kind of.
Totally different.
Yeah, there was nothing here.
Yeah, I like it. I wish it would go
there
back
was
that
one
way.
car,
It's too congested
one
now.
car out on the street.
Yeah, Chris is out there in the meadow trying to get abducted by aliens. That's where Chris is at.
Somewhere quiet.
Yeah, somewhere quiet, just talking about things. Squatching in the woods. But we one of the reasons Chris and I do the show is being able to meet people like you. I follow you on social media, and one of the things I notice you do, you're always kind of posting positive things, good mentality things, development aspects of it. What did you do? Obviously, you went through your school. How did you get to the position you're at now?
In mortgages?
Yeah.
While I was in college, I just kind of needed a part-time job, and I picked up a front desk job with a mortgage broker. And then from there, just kind of learned. I've met my branch manager, Sarah Heidi, there. So we've been buddies since 2010, and got kind of bored sitting there at the front desk. Got my hands into all the departments that I could. Did a little bit of QC, processing, junior processing, and then processing. And then within a year, Sarah and I were running a processing department in the office, and I was kind of the head of it. From there, we left the broker. We went to the mortgage firm, and I was processing, loan partnering, and I helped Sarah with, I was the assistant branch manager for the office. Sarah and I were at the Melbourne office, Sarno office, and she wanted to break off. She took me with her, And we went from 2 people. Right now we have 11 in our office. Super proud.
And you have a friend of mine over there too, Ashley Cahalan, correct?
I love Ashley. That's my buddy.
She is awesome. She's gonna be doing some stuff with me on the side. I've obviously known her husband for a long time through law enforcement. He's also a police officer. Great guy. One of the nicest dressers. Well, I'm gonna say it to the camera. Tommy Cahalan is one of the nicest dressers in law enforcement. I'll just throw it out there. I think Ashley dresses him, but that's about all I can say. He is the only guy I know who can get away with wearing a sweater.
No, I can't.
I know you can't even get. Do they make sweaters your size?
They do. You got husky section.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
It's like husky jeans, husky sweaters. That's what
Right.
you got. Okay. So as you were developing up, obviously splitting off. Every time you split off, that's kind of a risk.
It was.
How calculated was that?
When we left the office, it was kind of an overnight thing. Sarah said, I'm going.
That's
and
awesome.
I've known her for a while, and I said, I'm in the industry because of you, so I'm going. Let's go.
Awesome.
I feel like it was. Did you ever see Jerry Maguire? Did you see Jerry Maguire? No. Then this is not going to be any good now. Never mind. Move on.
Wait, hold on.
You don't remember the part in Jerry Maguire where he gets fired and he goes, I'm leaving and I'm starting my own agency and who's coming with me? And nobody stands up. And then finally Renee Zellweger stands up. She's like, I'll go with you. And they marched out of there proud and went and started their own
Jesse
firm.
was totally in that whole thing. I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a
and
sports movie. I don't expect you to have seen it.
It has nothing to do with hockey.
Does have Tom Cruise and Cuba Gooding Jr.
I do remember that. That's the Show Me the Money movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the. I never watched it.
Oh, well, it's a great movie.
I know there was like a little kid in there.
Right.
That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Like, and you were probably like 7 when that movie came out, so I don't even think it would apply to you unless you watch like black and whites on the TV.
You're older than me. Just remember that.
I'm older than you, but I don't watch like crappy movies.
It's not a crappy movie. It's a great movie.
Look, okay, so Jesse's okay. We're gonna go to the viewers on this one. What is it called?
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire. Okay, we're gonna see what people say about Jerry Maguire. I know people are gonna make fun of you at work tomorrow.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
First off, I took tomorrow off, so no, they won't. And B, no. I think the majority of people have seen Jerry Maguire and will agree it's a great movie.
All right. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break. And when we get back, we're going to discuss more personal development with Katherine. And we're going to see where we go from there. All right.
Hey, Lightning.
What's up, sunshine?
I am so excited about our new show.
Oh, yeah? Well, what are we going to talk about? Real estate?
Of course.
How to get a mortgage?
Yep, for first-timers and experienced owners.
What about the best place to get a drink on the beach?
Lightning, come on. Who would know better than us?
All right, I dig it. Plus, I know we're going to bring in tons of great local guests, tell jokes, and talk about some of the hottest listings to hit the market.
Oh my God, I can't wait. Sunshine and Lightning over Brevard will have new shows every Sunday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, streaming live from the beautiful Space Coast Podcast Studios.
And make sure you like our Facebook page, Sunshine and Lightning, Exit First Class Realty, and subscribe to Space Coast Podcast to make sure you don't miss out on any of our new shows.
Dig it.
All right, boom.
Hey, make sure you check out Space Cowboy Justice with your hosts, Blake Stewart and Paul Daly. We're going to be talking about interesting legal issues in the entertainment industry and everything geek. If you're into Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, comic books, we're talking about it. Coming at you from the Space Coast Podcast Studios.
You're listening to the Space Coast Podcast Network. If you'd like to be featured as a guest or sponsor or even host your own show, please email us at spacecoastpodcast@hotmail.com. That is spacecoastpodcast@hotmail.com. Space Coast Podcast. Talk hard.
Welcome back. We are here with Katherine Rivas. All right, I'm going to throw it out to Jeff Fennick. He said that Jerry Maguire is a good movie.
It did come out a lot.
We determined what it was 1996.
96. Yeah, I thought it was an early 2000s movie.
So
but
we did confirm that you weren't even in this country at the time that
I was a little young.
You were a little young when that movie came out. Okay, one of the things I want to talk to you about is you're a single mom.
I am.
2 children?
2 little girls.
2 little girls. Yeah, how old?
6 and 8.
6 and 8. Put her on the spot. She's like, man, I don't know what my kids are. I mean, they're like,
They're about to turn 7 and 9. So.
No, trust me, I know. Like
weird.
people ask me.
My 8-year-old's about to turn 18.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like in the last year, how she's turned into a teenager at such a young age. All of a sudden.
Yeah. No. I mean, she's one of your children.
Well, that's why they don't go to Catholic school. They're not allowed.
So being a single mom, you've been a single mom for how long now?
I was divorce finalized beginning of 2016.
2016. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that. Tell us, the process of being a single mom. I mean, obviously, Chris is married.
I am not a single mom.
You are not a single mom. You are married. I am married. I know how hard it is with 2 of us to make sure the kids are at school, make sure the kids are at practice, make sure the kids are at that. How do you get all that done?
It's tough. I mean, especially in our industry, we don't work a 9 to 5. We work whenever somebody calls, we work. So it definitely gets a little bit tough. The girl's dad is there. He is a good dad. We just were not a good match, but he's a great dad, and I have a really good support system.
That's awesome.
My parents are amazing. My family's amazing. So that helps.
And we touched on that last week about the family system support and how essential that is to, especially a single parent. Like I said, I'm a 2-parent household, and there's times where Maria gets called out, and I got to go to work. And so I can't go pick up Bella from school, and her mom will pick her up. My dad will pick her up. Mm-hmm. My dad's been remarried since my mom passed away. Joanne helps out a lot. My sister, it's just kind of wherever it takes you. Sometimes, it's difficult. Fortunately, now Gabriel's 16, so he drives. That was like, oh my goodness, you can drive yourself to baseball practice? The days have just turned amazing. Like it's no longer being, I got to pick this one up at 3, this one up at 3:30, back for baseball at 4, over to this at 4:30. Mm-hmm. And you basically don't stop until all the practices are done. It's 8 o'clock at night, and you're like, who wants to cook? Does anybody want to cook, or do we want to go get fast food? Or order out? And at that point, you're like, you wind up looking like me, Jesse, and Chris, because we go and pick up fast food all the time. But don't look at me like that, you angered-eyed.
I'm still strong.
I didn't say you weren't strong. Look, he got his feelings hurt. Do you see that?
Just because I don't have a six-pack.
He gave you the look.
He did.
Oh.
Don't look at me like that. We all know how you look at me. We saw it in our recent advertisement on Facebook. So going through all that, obviously you co-parent. My wife and I were recently talking about that, and it's probably a show we're going to look at doing probably in the next month. But I obviously, when I met Maria, she had a 4-year-old, I think he was at the time. And so, she's obviously been married, divorced. We have the co-parenting on that side. Mm-hmm. Now your ex, new relationships, remarried or anything like that?
Yeah, he's in a new relationship. I am newly in a new relationship. It's pretty new. It's a little bit scary, especially having 2 little girls. The only person that they ever seen mom with is dad, so they have a lot of questions, and just really trying to take it slow. It's tough. It's really tough. With the time, I wanted to go back to the time and the practice and the school and all of that. I think I was very comfortable in a salary position, like I was telling you. So I went from assistant branch manager, 9 to 5, Didn't have to worry about anything on the weekend, nothing after 5 o'clock. When I clocked out, that was it. But I was very comfortable. And I was so comfortable that I got to the point that I was getting annoyed at work. And they could tell you I'm very close to Sarah, and I was getting frustrated because there was nothing new. There was no new development. I wasn't going anywhere, is how I felt. So I spoke with Sarah, and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to get my license. I can do this. I know I can. You know, I've helped so many people, so many loan originators develop them and kind of become successful. And I was kind of everybody's go-to person in the office that I was like, you know what, I think it's my turn.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely, I got licensed end of last year.
Can we talk real quick? What does a loan originator do? Because I think with mortgages, people get confused on when you call somebody and that's a person. So what exactly does a mortgage originator do?
So we get you approved for a mortgage?
That's it? I like it.
Well, there's it depends where you work, but we have at the mortgage firm, we have a lot of different programs. So when I take an application and I'm speaking with someone, looking at their credit, looking at their income, seeing what their debt to income looks like, we have to fit them into a program. You know, do they have to get assistance? Are they able to do this on their own without assistance? Do they have the savings? Do they have the funds? Are they going to get gift? There's just a lot of different programs. So we help them get into a program, see if they can start the process of shopping right away. If they can't, we put them on a plan. So you have terrible credit, I can help you with that. Let's look at your credit. What can we pay off? What can we pay down? What can we work on to get you to that goal? And I love doing that.
That's awesome.
I love it.
That is awesome. You know, because I honestly, I was like, I know you help people get loans. I didn't know that you all did all that. Like, you'll actually walk people through and try and help guide them.
Some of us do.
See, look at that.
Yes,
Boom.
some of us do. We're really good in our office. We have an amazing office. I brag about the office. We have an amazing team. We're willing to help whoever walks into that door. So if we can't get you qualified now, let's see what we can do. And if we can get you into a house 6 months, a year from now, we're going to do it.
Now, you're bilingual. Is there anybody else in the office that's bilingual? Or are you?
I'm the only one.
That's awesome.
That's a plus.
That's a plus for you.
Yes.
Now, you talked about stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
Even coming on the podcast today, you said was kind of outside your comfort zone.
I have never gone live on Facebook ever. So this is
big. But
it's all right. Nobody really watches it anyway.
Look,
So.
Chris always says that, and then we're like 2,000 views later.
I don't know. I'm kind of looking at all the people on here.
Yeah, he always says that. I think that's what keeps him calm, because he's like, nobody watches this. It's okay. I can be as stupid as I want to be. Right. And then at the end of the day, everybody's like, hey, man, I watched the podcast. It was really good today. And Chris is like, oh, yeah, you know. That's just how things go. Right. That's just me.
We just show up, we talk, we leave.
Yeah. So stepping outside that comfort zone, you talked about just coming here, but leaving what you left at average 9 to 5 to go explore new options. I mean, how much has that meant to your life mentally, physically, family-wise?
It's a little tough. It's a lot of getting used to. But it's giving me a lot of time. I don't have to be in an office 9 to 5. I have my laptop with me 24/7, but I don't have to be in an office. So if I can wake up and be able to drop off my girls at school and have breakfast with them, that's a plus. So if I have to work, till 8 at night, 9, 10, pick up the phone, that's fine, because I was able to have breakfast with them, or, go in and have lunch with them.
Now, we talked about a family being important, so that time with your girls is huge for you,
Of course.
I mean, it's huge for most parents. I mean, Chris and I work in a field where...
Right. Well, I think we talked about that last week. The absent parent, how people can do that, it still boggles my mind. I don't understand how someone can have a child and then either you just walk away or you get divorced and one side says, nah, I'm good, and just leaves. I don't understand that. And so... Yeah, family's huge, and I think, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I got nothing else.
No, I for us, one of the reasons we do the podcast is to focus on the family, to bring things back, to talk about stuff. We see a lot of negativity in the news. We've seen this last week alone has just been. I'm just gonna say it, just you have to check the explicit box, but it's been a shit show. This last couple of weeks. Shootings all over the place, just things all over the news that are just extremely unfortunate. So keeping it back to the basics for us is huge. I mean, obviously, we're here in t-shirt and shorts because we're bringing it back to the family. We want to bring it back to the community that we live in and talk about what's happening here. Lisa, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because I always watch your post, and it's always something that's telling people to move forward, keep walking forward, keep pushing forward. But I think that comes with your story. I mean, growing up in the Dominican, coming over here, having to adapt to a new culture, speak a new language, work your way up, get to a point where you're in college, get to a point where you have a job that you like but you want more. Mm-hmm. Getting that licensing, being willing to split off, and even to the point realizing with you and your ex that maybe things don't work. I mean, I've been divorced once. My wife has obviously been divorced previously. Excuse me. So for us, we both understand that sometimes things aren't meant to be.
Right.
Decisions that were made at a young age may not be what's good later on, but that doesn't have to be something that holds you back. I can tell you, and I'm sure you're in the same boat, divorces are terrible. They are miserable. That is a miserable time in people's lives. No matter, even if you're happy or without the person, it is still a miserable time.
Tough.
It is.
It's definitely tough.
Then you would add in the kid factor and everything else that's going on.
And I come from a family that does not believe in divorce. So that was very tough. I'm probably, if not the first, I think I'm probably one of the first to get divorced.
No, and I got to commend you because one of the things you said earlier that I caught on to was your ex is a good father. And there's a lot of people who are split up that won't say my ex is a good mother, even if they are a good mother, or they're a good father, even if they are a good father. They want to put out that perception of like negativity.
I mean, it's not perfect.
No.
We don't get along all the time.
Well, I don't.
Yeah, clearly.
It's tough. Co-parenting is tough. It's definitely tough. We have different styles of co-parenting. We have our ups and downs. One day we like each other, one day we don't. But we're kind of stuck together. So
That's what we were talking about that last week.
got to make the best of it.
Well, that's like my wife and her ex. Obviously, Gabriel's 16, but he is at that point now where, I mean, he's going to be graduating next year, but that's not where the relationship ends. I mean, this kid is going to be married one day and have kids. We're always going to be there. And when we get back from the break, we're going to touch a little bit more on that.
All right, in the studio, breaking news. This guy literally just broke down the door. He's got incredible news. His name is John Adams with The Fix Therapy. John, what's so important? What's going on?
Well, we've got some exciting stuff to talk about.
Well, tell me, what do you have to share?
Well, I've got a brand new podcast coming to you called The Live Life Aware, where we're going to be discussing all kinds of fun topics like biohacking.
Whoa.
Yes. We're going to be talking about integrated medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be talking about some really new hot topics in Florida with medical marijuana and CBD.
I see. Well, that sounds exciting. So what else can the listener expect?
Well, fun facts of the body. Did you know that one red blood cell carries 1 billion oxygen molecules?
That's a lot. I had no idea.
Yeah, so if you looked up into the night sky,
right,
you could take every little star and put them on one red blood cell.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. So all kinds of trivia, surprise guests, and things that you're not going to hear about just hanging out in your family practitioner's doctor's office.
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about all the stuff you're not listening or hearing from maybe your general practitioner.
Amazing. All right. Thanks so much, John. Live Life Aware, guys, coming soon from the Space Coast Podcast Studios.
Jesse, have you ever wondered what is the best way to interview applicants for your open position so you have the best chance of hiring a keeper?
All the time.
Well, I talk to managers every day, Jesse, that use their gut instinct to make a hire. Sometimes that works out, but more times than not, it can lead to a bad hire. Replacing a poor hire can be expensive and hurt morale. One of our most popular service offerings at HR Office Savers is teaching employers how to be better interviewers. Improved interviewing techniques lead to better hiring, which leads to better employee retention, which leads to less turnover and more profit. Contact me today to find out how you can learn to be a better interviewer. I can be reached online at www.hrofficesavers.com or by phone 928-308-4506. Again, that's 928-308-4506. 928-308-4506.
All right, we are back, and once again, we were here with Katherine Rivas.
You didn't roll the R that time. The first time you said it, you rolled the R.
Rivas.
Now you're back to being, I guess, Uber white.
Uber white. I went Uber white again. I'm sorry.
Right.
I apologize to my wife. I went Uber white for a second, honey. I'll cook later. It'll be delicious. I promise. But just to finish up on what we were talking about a minute ago with the co-parenting aspect of it. Much props, like you said. There are times where people don't get along. People do get along. We've with Maria and I, her ex, it was obviously rocky at first, but same situation. Maria did the same thing. She was kind of like nervous about introducing me to the kids or to Gabriel, because at that time she was like, I don't want to introduce any new person unless I know this is a person that is a possibility, because she didn't want to, like you said, they've never seen anybody other than the dad being there. Right. So it's one of those things you don't want to keep introducing new people, unless you know someone's going to be long term or work or whatever. So it is weird, It was definitely weird being the guy, I didn't have any kids. Right. So, walking in being like, hello, how are you, small human? I
like your mom.
Yeah, your mom's pretty cool, And Gabriel didn't care. Gabriel was like, you want to color? And I was like, sure, let's color. That was how we met, like coloring, But it was weird, like for me, I was like, this is going to be interesting. How do I say hello to a 4.5-year-old? It's like, how do you make a good impression? Like, do I bring candy? I mean, like, what do you do? I mean, like,
that's creepy.
That's creepy. That's creepy.
That gets you on a certain registry.
That's creepy. Yeah, like,
you have to be careful.
But
with
like,
that.
here, I have a puppy and some candy.
Right.
They're like, oh no, nay, those are red flags.
Especially with the van you drive.
Yeah.
It's all.
Shh. We won't talk about that. But very interesting. Moving forward, I think that's awesome that you guys can co-parent. Because there's a lot of people who cannot. They don't even talk to each other.
We're halfway there.
That's good. That's.
But at least you're working. You're not just screw it. You guys are still working on it, and I'm sure it's a work in progress and not ever perfect.
Right.
Yeah. No. I mean, like I said, there's we finally got. And me and Maria have been together.
You better know this.
13 years. Long time. So now it's like we can go. Everybody can go to the beach and have a barbecue together, but. It hasn't been since 2016. It's been a long time.
Not there yet.
Yeah, it's been a long time with us, but it took a lot of time in development. Now, during the break, Chris started asking a bunch of mortgage questions.
Yes.
And it was cool because Chris always does that. Like, he'll wait till the break and be like, I have no idea what was going on. Fill me in more, And then we come back and I'm like, all right, that was a great thing to talk about.
Well, that's because I can't get a word in because you don't stop talking. I told Katherine before we started, I said, look, if you want to get a word in, you got to just cut them off.
It is.
It's like merging into I-4 traffic. You just got to go, and Steve will stop. They always stop. He'll stop, but if you don't, he'll just go.
See, because I'm always afraid, like, I'll be talking, and then Chris will just go, like he said earlier. He'll be like, yeah, I agree. And I'll be like, so anyway, so I have to, like, keep it going, boys.
Yeah.
So
what else you want?
Christopher. All
right, so during the break, we were talking that my wife and I, when we bought the house we're in now, we originally started with a large bank, right? Yeah, I know. And
she's like, no.
Don't say it.
No, we started with a regular bank to get our mortgage through because that's who had our original mortgage on the house we owned previously. So we thought it'd be nice and easier just to stay with them. We had all of our checking, savings, money market, everything was with them. So getting the mortgage should be easy. I talked to the guy on the phone, gave him my information. He's like, yeah, no problem. Originally, I didn't want to pay any of that PMI. I think it's stupid to have to pay insurance on my own mortgage, but whatever. And so the guy said, look, we have a 5% thing, 5% down. You don't have to pay PMI. Here's your credit, your income. You qualify, no problem for it. So we put the offer in on the house. We get approved. 15, 18 days into the process, he calls me up and goes, hey, I was wrong. You guys don't qualify for this exact mortgage, so we're not going to be able to do that one. And I was like, all right, cool, man. Just switch me over to that FHA, 3.5% down. We'll pay the PMI until we get some equity in the house, and then I'll get rid of it. He's like, all right. So I said, all right, cool. So we're still good to close in 2 weeks. And he goes, oh, no. We got to start all over again. It's 30-day process. And at that point, I kind of lost my mind. I wound up at the office getting into a
local lender.
No. First, I wound up in their office of the large bank, and I had a good discussion with that guy and the manager. And then, luckily, a local lender came through and bailed us out. So you and I were kind of talking about the differences between a large bank and a local lender,
right?
And what exactly, I think that's what I meant when I asked you earlier about what does a loan originator do. I don't think people understand like what the process actually is to get a mortgage on a house.
Okay, so I've never worked for a retail bank, but from what I hear, the loan originator kind of takes your application. If the credit looks good and you have the funds, they take the application, they think you qualify, and then they kind of send it off. Processing and underwriting is usually not right there at the branch. So they have to wait for this underwriter to get back to you or the processor and say, this person qualifies or they don't. With a local lender, and I was telling you guys, a lot of the local realtors will not take pre-qualifications or pre-approvals from retail banks. And you agree. They will not take them because it's not... it's just not good, what he's saying.
Right, they're not really as guaranteed as well as...
They're just not, I guess they're not as solid. So when you go to most of them will refer their clients to a local lender. For example, they'll come to me or whoever at the office. We take their application. We see what program we can get them into. And then our processor is in-house. And our underwriter for us is in Altamont Springs, but we only have one. And if we need to communicate with them, we're able to. I can call her on the phone. When we were working with the broker, you couldn't do that.
Okay.
There was no way to do that. So it's just easier. It's communication.
So break it down for me real quick. What the processor and the underwriter, so you take I call you up and say, Katherine, we want to buy this house. Give you my information. You put everything in the application. Say, all right, Chris, you guys, with the money you're going to put down, you qualify to do, the conventional 20% down, no PMI loan. And you put it through to the processor from that point?
So you get pre-qualified. We give you a letter.
Right.
If you bring in your documents, we get you pre-approved, which means we looked at everything. You're pretty solid. We've looked at your documents at that point.
You're talking like tax returns, pay stubs.
Pay stubs,
you
W-2s.
pulled the credit.
Yep.
Okay.
Everything looks great. We get the pre-quals or the pre-approvals to the realtors, tell them this is what they qualify for. If they need seller credit, we communicate that. And then once you go under contract, we do a full application that you have to sign. Right. And then it goes to our processor. So our processor pretty much goes through the file they dissect your file.
Right.
And if there's anything that comes up on fraud reports, anything that they pull up, then they get back to us and they say, hey, this is the rest of the documents that I will need before I get it to underwriting. When a file goes to underwriting, we should be positive that we have a file. We're not throwing something out there and hoping that it sticks.
Right.
So when it goes to underwriting, we're really just waiting for that conditional approval. The conditional approval comes back. Hopefully there's only one or two things on there. Insurance, you need to get insurance on the house. If something else needs to be cleared up. And then we send it back to them with those documents and it's a clear to close.
So what is the underwriter is just the final person that looks over the file?
They approve your loan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Earlier you talked about if you get somebody who comes in and say they have credit that they're trying to rebuild. Is there any like basic tips that you can give people for focusing on rebuilding credit, or like what would be some suggestions?
I think the main thing that we see is the credit card usage. So whenever you use your credit cards over 30%, you're hurting your credit. If you go over that limit, even by $1, you're killing your credit. So we look at things and we try to guide them as to how to raise their scores or anything like that.
When you say 30%, so if I have a $10,000 credit limit on my credit card, anything over $3,000 then starts to lower the...
There's no exact math.
Okay.
But that seems to be it. Yeah.
Okay. So you want to
we
have like
always
a
tell you-
70% balance open,
Correct.
able to use, or 70% available credit on a credit card.
Right.
Would be the okay.
So interesting. Now,
Real quick, just
good,
on the
good.
credit stuff. So, and I could be completely wrong on this because I probably am. The regular credit score, but then there's a different credit score for mortgages, or is it all the same credit score? Because I know like when you go through one of the credit, I think through Capital One or I think that's the credit card we have. You get your yearly FICO score. You can FICO, whatever it is. FICO, thank you. And you can click and it breaks down like all these different credit scores that you can look at, like auto loan credit score, mortgage, or it's either mortgage or home buying or I don't remember what it's classified as. So are they actually different, or
So
which one?
Yeah, you have your 3 credit scores. When we pull in your credit, we base your rate and everything off your middle score.
So you're talking
whichever one's in the middle.
FICO, Experian, and TransUnion, or
Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax.
Equifax, okay.
Now, so there are different versions of those reports. When you go get an auto loan, they may pull up a version, and you think you're have a 700 credit score, and then we pull up our version, and it may be lower. So yeah, there are different versions.
But generally, if you have an overall good credit score, you probably will have everything
yes.
else will probably be fine.
Interesting. I know it was funny because I was looking at somebody's thing the other day, and it was talking they were going to buy a car, and what they didn't realize is that the car company was calling all these different people,
and they pull your credit 20 times.
Yes. So and that'll hurt you.
That will.
You know. So say you go to buy a car, and they call whatever bank and then whatever bank and then whatever bank to try and get it. Every time that bank runs your credit, it's dinging you down. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. I haven't bought a car like at a car dealership in a long time because I'd rather just pay it and be done.
Yeah, let me give you a pro tip. As somebody who's bought 1 or 2 cars in his time, I've learned that it is much better to just contact your bank and get pre-approved so you know how much money you have, and then it's just one process out of it when you're dealing with the dealership. You can just go, look, no, I'm going to pay you $15,000 for that car. Okay, what do you need financing from us? No, I have it. Here's the check from Bank X. That's it. I don't want to deal with anything else. I mean, they're still going to try to get you to get their, well, let me pull it and see if maybe we can get you a better rate and all that. And no, just this is what I want.
You know, it's funny. Ashley and I are talking a video we're going to be doing soon. Has to do with the thought process of that 18 to 25-year-old lifestyle. And one of the big things we're going to talk about is credit card usage, because I think a lot of people, when they're in those early years of college, they're like, oh, look, handling up.
I did the same thing.
Think about all the guys we know getting to law enforcement. They get those first few checks, and they're like, I need that King Ranch.
Oh, yeah. Everybody goes and buys a brand new truck. You know, as soon as I say everybody, I did it. As soon as I got hired, I got that first check, and I went, yep, I need me a new F-150. I want to extend a cab, but you know what? I'll spend an extra $6,000 on that crew cab. Oh, you mean I'm rolling over $8,000 because I'm upside down in the Tahoe? Who cares? Just do it.
Yeah, I need those rims.
Right.
I need those tires.
No. I never put my new truck. Yes, but on those, no. But yeah, you don't pay attention to that stuff. And you don't realize how far in the future that stuff's really going to affect everything else you do.
Oh yeah, there's people you talk to that.
So we got a question.
Oh, we got a question. How can one recover of a one-time late mortgage payment?
The older that mortgage payment is, the better it shows on your credit. There's really no removing it. So just time, time is just going to help. Yeah.
Does it help if you pay towards, like you make an extra, what is it, the principal payment?
Right.
Like I know there's a lot of people that are like for me, I think only like $400 goes to my principal out of my ridiculous mortgage. So I know a lot of people that are paying double that, like just towards the principal, just to try and help build their credit.
That will help pay off your mortgage sooner. But I don't know about building your credit.
It won't do anything for your credit?
No, it's just paying off your mortgage sooner. With the lates, and I try to tell people, just make sure that you don't have a 30-day late. So it's not going to count on your credit until you are 30-day late. You pay that mortgage 20-day late, you're going to have a late fee, but it's not going to show in your credit.
Gotcha.
So just make sure that it's within that, right before the 30 days, doesn't matter.
That's a good tip, because there's a lot of people that they may not get their mortgage payments due on the 1st, but they may not get that paycheck until the 4th.
Right.
So I think a lot of people are scrambling. They're going to these advanced places where they go and they get banged and they get all this extra fees. I mean, that just puts them more into that poverty cycle, that being house
puts them behind even more. Yeah.
So, that's a good tip that I think a lot of people could probably benefit from, that, may want to wait till that 4th or whatever.
There was a question on there. She said, during the hurricane, when the government hit, I would say call your bank. There were a lot of banks that were helping homeowners, especially during the hurricane. So they were giving, I know one person that had, not really sure how they worked it, but they were able to extend their payments or split their payments within so many months to be able to catch up.
Yeah, I saw ones where if you called them, if you were in a FEMA disaster area, you can call your bank and you could skip the payment, but you just didn't have to pay them that month. They added it on the back end of the mortgage. So instead of 360 months, if you had a 30-year mortgage, it was 361, 362 months they had to pay, but you didn't have to pay, whatever, September, October.
Yeah, that's a great question.
But you have to talk to your bank. Like, you have to talk to them. They don't know what's going on. They just know that you haven't made the payment. So you're going to keep getting the calls and you're going to have those lates. Definitely speak to your bank. They're willing to help.
Yeah. What if? So you said you would help somebody, or at least give them a guidance on what to do to fix their credit or help build their credit. So I think most people have your car payment. You got 1, 2, 3 credit cards, maybe a mortgage. Do you tell them, hey, look, these are what's better to start paying down? Is it better to pay off? Because if you listen to like Dave Ramsey and some of those guys, they'll tell you, high interest credit card, revolving debt, stuff like that.
Definitely your credit cards. Like I said, with that 30%, your car payment is going to be your car payment. So even if you make an extra payment this month, your car payment's probably still going to be your car payment.
Right.
I know with mine, if I made an extra payment, it just went towards the next month. So they weren't even taking it off the principal. The credit cards are a big thing.
Yeah, I know a buddy of mine was talking. He didn't realize it, but he skipped a payment, say like January-ish, of last year. Well, then he started going back to paying February, March, normal. Well, all those months that he had still missed that payment were showing that he was delinquent every single month, because they were just catching up to that first one that he had missed.
Right.
So he had probably 9 months straight of delinquent, derogatory marks on his credit, because he had never done a Credit Karma or anything like that to actually see where he was at. And all of a sudden he did. And he was like, oh my gosh, I have all these black marks, how do I fix that? And it's like you said, it takes time, get caught up, doing everything right.
I wonder too. So I think people think they already have a house and have a mortgage. It's easier that they'll automatically get approved for another mortgage if they want to go buy another house. But that's not necessarily true, right? Because they could have destroyed their credit or tacked on a bunch of extra debt since then. What about, is it easier to get a refi mortgage than a regular mortgage, or do you guys look at the same thing when you're doing that?
I mean, we're still looking at your credit score. I guess with a refinance, what we're looking at is, are you trying to just get a different rate, a lower rate, or are you trying to do a cash out? Right now, rates have gone up a little bit. So people that have had a mortgage for, 4 years, rates are a little bit higher. But now we have a lot of equity. Houses have gone up.
Right.
So a lot of people are doing cash out refinances. Sometimes they don't make sense. A lot of time they do. If you have a lot of credit card debt and your interest rate's 28%, it makes sense to refinance and pay off those credit cards when your mortgage has.
And then cancel those credit cards, right? Because
you don't want to cancel your credit cards.
No.
That'll kill your credit too.
Really?
It's all about history.
Look,
See?
just
Now I'm
learned
learning.
History, yeah.
Okay.
So if you close a credit
The
card
only
that you've
reason I
had,
say that is just because I know most people, and I did this once, is I paid off all my credit cards with my tax return. I was all excited, and then 6 months later, I'd racked them all back up, and you're like, well, I guess I'll just start all over again and start paying back on it. So that's why I didn't know if just canceling it so you don't have that ability to do it, but your history on it.
you need history. Definitely need history. If you pay them off, you want to use them every month. That's what reports. Your credit card's reporting is what's building your credit. A lot of people don't understand that, so they'll have a credit card and it's just sitting there. They're not using it. That's not helping them.
Right.
So you still want to use it, even if it's just to get gas.
So go get gas and then just pay it off. Because they don't care if you pay it off as long as it's open and you're using it. So if I spend $200 in a month in gas and then pay it off when the bill comes in, they don't care. The credit reporting companies don't care. They just notice, all right, good, look at that. He's making his payments on time and he's making...
Right. You're being responsible.
No, I have a question on. There's a lot of people I know who want to pay their house off totally, and then I've heard other people say, "Don't do that. Pay it down to about $20,000. That way, you don't lose your homestead exemption." Now, what is the thought process on that? Is there a thought process? Because, like I said, one person said, "Pay your house totally off." But if you do that, you're going to lose your homestead exemption.
No,
but
why would you lose your homestead
It's
exemption?
still your primary home. So you have homestead as long as it's your primary residence.
Gotcha.
The minute you turn it into an investment, then yeah, you will lose it.
Okay, so you could pay your house totally off, and you're not going to lose your homestead.
No,
As long as it's your primary house.
Okay. Only reason, like I said, I've gotten two different statements from two.
No, like if you guys paid off your house and then bought another house and moved into that one and then made the house you're in now a rental house, you would lose your homestead exemption.
Gotcha.
But you would lose it whether you paid it off or whether you kept it.
Right.
Anyway, if you moved into a new residence.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. See, that was something. Like I said, I've gotten two different opinions from two different people.
Why didn't you just ask me?
Yeah.
Was I right? Was I right?
I don't ask Chris too many complicated questions.
You'd be surprised at the ridiculousness I know.
No, let me tell you something. As Chris was discussing, being inside of this large bank, arguing, the only thing I was picturing was you being like,
Oh, I was.
Chris mad. Chris gonna pick things up.
Chris
and
was
throw things
very
down.
upset.
Like that's what I was picturing.
Well, you gotta understand too. At the time, we had sold our house. We were living in this tiny little rental house. We just had our son, so he was 4 or 5 months old. My daughter, we've got a 100-pound Rottweiler.
That's tough.
And we're in an 1,100 square foot rental home, waiting to move into essentially what is going to be our dream home. I mean, it's our forever home. We're going to be there forever, unless I can convince her to buy something in the woods or in the Keys. But so we'll be there forever.
Chris is gonna live like the Unabomber in a shed somewhere one day. Like he's gonna be like, I'm hunting on the land, people. You know,
living off the land. So, it was very frustrating because now I thought, we might lose this house.
So you were in a stressful situation.
Right. So the large bank caught the brunt of that. I will say that at least the manager of the office made it right. We had paid the money for the appraisal and some other things, and they refunded that back to us. And then that guy was fired. So I felt good.
Boom, boom, boom. Now
he should have in the middle of down there giving him our application. He's taking phone calls from his mom. He's like, "Oh, that's my mom. That's my mommy." He's like in his mid 40s, 50s, and I'm like, "Dude, stop! Put the phone down, man. I'm your customer.
Yeah.
If she's not in the hospital dying, me and my wife are your number one concern right now."
Now, Mike sent us a question. Does having a lease on a car rather than a loan help or hurt your credit? Considering it's more like you're just renting the car. Like, does that...
I'm not sure. I think, it's still an installment loan.
A payment is a payment.
Yeah,
as long as you're on time with either one.
It's still an installment loan, as long as you're not late.
Dude,
Everything
but
should be fine.
They don't look at it, I guess, as debt to income, or they would still. It's
Any
just
monthly
a continuing...
payment, any monthly payment, whether it's a lease or
a regular
payment, it's still a payment. So it's still counted towards your debt to income. I don't think so. I'll double check on that, but I don't think there's a difference.
Interesting.
I'm supposed to ask about a boat loan. If I got a boat loan, would that hurt my chances to get a mortgage?
Your payment's probably going to be a little bit high. So
right. On the home, but the boat, they'd be low. So
Catherine, Chris really wants a boat.
Yeah.
And so if you could
just
for a second just go like this, just like lie for a minute and go, that would actually help you get better mortgage loans. Well, that would like really go in Chris's favor.
But if we refinanced our house and did a cash out and paid off all of our debt, then I could go get a boat loan, and we would actually our payments between our mortgage and the boat loan would be lower than what we're paying now on some of the other stuff. So in the end, it works out better. So I agree, Catherine. I should get a boat.
I will help you with a cash out, but I don't. You'll have to.
Right. So Catherine said we're getting a boat. You heard her. Nora, you heard her. We're getting a boat.
Oh man, yeah. We're both people who've been divorced. We're not. Neither of us are going to be like, we're not going there. We're like, I like your kids. Kind of want them to have 2-parent household.
Kind of just gonna have to come home with a boat one day and just deal with the ramifications.
Is she posted? I'm waiting for. He'll have a very nicely, paid off house or whatever, all those things. But there'll be a fresh plot of dirt about 6 foot by 5 foot wide in the backyard that'll have a little stick next to it named Chris.
Right.
Nora will live a happy life though. You know. So going back to what you've been doing, great tips. There's a lot of people like me. We're asking questions right now. Any other things you can suggest? For people who are maybe thinking about buying a
time,
home,
right.
a first-time buyer?
I think the main thing is a lot of people think they don't qualify, so they don't even try. Call us. Try. We'll let you know. If you can't right now, then you can't. But just try. Why not? I mean, there are a lot of programs right now. FHA is meant for first-time home buyers. We're able to go down to a 580 credit score. If your score is under a 620, it is a little bit of a tougher process, but we do them all the time. So yeah, don't.
What if I have a
Rent
low...
right now really sucks. Rent really sucks right now. So if you can buy, at least try.
And it still matters on your credit score, right? So even if I have a low credit score, but I make a lot of money, that doesn't matter, right? Still, or will it eventually even itself out?
How
or no?
low a credit score?
Oh, I don't have low credit. I don't think. You'd have to ask my wife.
If you have at least.
But so I think some people think that too, like, oh well, I've got all this money, or I've got 20% down, but if you still don't have the credit, then it doesn't matter.
Work like that, no. So we definitely have to get the credit score where we need it to be. Making a lot of money helps. It definitely helps. Your debt to income will be low. You probably qualify for a higher mortgage. But yeah, we need your credit score.
Awesome. Okay, we'll go to break. Are we done? Oh man,
we're done.
That was quick.
We've been talking. We've been just going off. No, that's awesome. Everything you've been talking
I had like
about
50
today.
more questions and a great Dominican story to tell about getting chased around by a guy with an AK. But okay, I guess we'll just have to do this again.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay.
We'll have a second show.
Let's listen to the story.
Oh, I can tell that story.
Yeah. Go. Okay.
So when my wife and I were dating, we went to the Dominican. I think I told you I'm gonna butcher it. So Punta Cana, right? Okay. So we stayed at a resort there. She wanted to go horseback riding. I looked at her and said, "Oh, okay, you go have fun. I'm not going." So I wound up going horseback riding. We signed up for the excursion, and we're walking down the beach. And as we're walking down the beach, we get these signs that say, "You're now leaving the resort." Pretty much saying, think twice about what you're doing. You're about to leave the resort. There's security for the resort, armed security there, and they're like, "Are you guys leaving?" And we go, "Yeah, we got a horseback riding excursion. I guess we're going over that way." And he's like, "All right, have fun." So we go. We meet up with this local guy there, and my wife gets a horse, and he gets a horse, and he looks at me and goes, "How big are you?" And at the time, I was a little trimmer. I was like 225. He's like, "Oh, you get the big horse." Okay. So I get the big horse. We start riding. All of a sudden, we're riding down some trail, and now you got to understand, I don't ride horses, so I don't understand giddy up and
yeah.
I'm looking for.
I was picturing you on a horse. Like.
Right? No, I'm looking for a gas pedal and a brake. There's none of that. So we're driving. We're riding down a trail, and all of a sudden he stops and jumps off his horse and starts to walk into the woods. And I'm like, "Hey!" And he goes, "It's okay. I go pee pee." I'm like, "All right, dude, do what you need to do." So he's in the woods. Our horses are eating leaves off trees. He comes out and gets on the horse. Well, as he comes out and gets on the horse, two guys emerge from the other side of the woods. One has an AK and the other one has a shotgun. When he looks at us, he goes, "We go now." So he takes off. Nora, my wife, takes off. My horse just stands there and is eating leaves still. I'm like, "Buddy, we should. Can we go?" I'm like, "Go!" I'm like, "Giddy up, hi ho, Silver. Let's do something here." And finally, my horse just kind of trots along, and they just walked behind me and walked into the other side of the woods, and they were gone. And I was like, "Oh, I'm never going horseback riding again."
And that was it. You went back to Palm Bay. You lived your life.
I went horseback riding one more time in Jamaica, and I'll tell you that story next time about it, because that one's even worse.
Excellent. Finalizing this podcast, what do you final tips? Do you have any good final tips to give people? Like you said, if you think you can buy, at least try. Come out. Should people have a certain amount of money for a down payment? Like, is there anything that you would say, hey, these are the top couple of things to think about? One being getting your credit cards down, I'm sure, but any other ideas?
I would just say give us a call. Just call, come in, let's meet, let's see where you're at. We'll pull in your credit, see where you stand, and we'll go from there. I mean, not everyone needs 20% down.
Awesome. Now,
you want to plug
away.
Plug the firm, plug yourself real fast.
321-830-5845.
Sweet. Name of the business?
The Mortgage Firm.
And you are?
Katherine Rivas.
Bam! All right. She didn't roll the R either, Chris.
Yes. Rivas.
She just did. And it sounded way better than you roll your... No, stop. Stop it.
Gosh, it makes me go back to being uber white. Like I said, everybody, thank you again for watching the podcast. We'll have this up on YouTube later. Jesse, thank you for doing everything you do, and we will see you in a couple of weeks.